So we recently got a surprise March of the Goblin event in Diablo 4 that's going to be lasting from July 29th to August 5th. And there is currently an incredibly strong way to farm this event to get just ungodly amounts of loot. And there is also a reputation track with this event, which at the end will also give you a resplendent spark, and you're able to complete this track in under an hour and get tons of additional loot through that as well. And if you're somebody that's still playing the season and still looking for loot, or if you're somebody that hasn't started playing the season yet and has been maybe thinking about it, I would recommend playing during this event because the amount of loot you can get is absolutely ridiculous. And this includes everything. This includes gold, runes, gear, pretty much any currencies you can possibly get. Pretty much everything in the game worthwhile farming, you will be getting a ridiculous amount in this. And even things like gold are ridiculous from this. I got like 500 million gold in like an hour. And if you've never seen the March of the Goblins event, essentially a bunch of additional goblins are spawning. Sometimes you can randomly find some packs of them, but generally you're just trying to find the best area to consistently farm goblins. And because of one of our previous March of the Goblins events, we now have all of the different types of goblins that all give different types of loot, but are all incredibly lucrative. Now, just to quickly go through all the goblin variants, you still have normal treasure goblins. They don't give you a ton of loot, so those are generally the worst ones. You have green ones, which are the odious Ector. They drop just random crafting materials. You have the Gilded Baron, which is golden, and this thing drops a ridiculous amount of gold. I think it's on average like 50 to 60 million, and that's if you don't get their bag, because all of these goblins can also randomly drop bags. That just gives you more of what they would usually be dropping. You have the Glittering Perm, which is the diamond goblins, and they drop gem fragments, runes, and in torment tiers that can give you undercity tributes and scattered prisms. You have the Curious Merle, which gives you a bunch of murmuring obols. Most of their obols drops from a bag. I think they have a guaranteed chance to also drop the bag, which gives you a bunch of additional obols. You have the Gelatinous Cyrus, which is this blue goblin that when you kill, it splits into 2 goblins, and then when you kill those 2, they split into 3, and every single one of those goblins drops loot. They drop 1 legendary item with a chance at more legendary items at higher world tiers, and they also drop gold while summoning materials and elixirs. These are probably the best ones overall to just get tons of different loot. And then you have the ultra rare goblin that I've never seen, Fancy Old Frederick, who is a purple goblin, and he drops mythics. He drops a mythic unique and a resplendent spark. So if you see a purple goblin, do everything you can to kill it, because that thing is like 1 in a million chance. Now, in previous March of the Goblins events, there's been a bunch of different ways to farm this the most efficient way possible. Back when we had the old Nightmare Sigils, where you had ones that just spawned a bunch of additional shrines, you would do that because greed shrines just keep spawning goblins the more kills you get. Then they ended up making the open world of Nahantu have a lot more goblins than anywhere else. I think that's technically still in, but during this March of the Goblin event, it seemed that just going and running around the PvP areas is actually the best way to farm this. And there's 2 PvP areas that you can just alternate between, and you'll be finding a ridiculous amount of goblins in these. I think I found like a dozen goblins very quickly in one of the PvP zones. And there is a few ways you can go about increasing the odds of you finding these goblins. Now, first off, make sure to go into your settings, your networking settings, and turn off crossplay. You have to be at the main menu to do this, but the reason you're turning this off is because when you go into zones, including these PvP zones, it'll randomly put you into different instances that could have other players in them. So if you turn crossplay off, you just have a lesser chance of being in a PvP zone with other players, or just being in a PvP zone with less players. So this just increases your chance of you being able to kill the goblins instead of other people already being there killing them. And then the second really big thing you can do is go to your mercenaries and get Subo. Subo's passive tracks everything. So it tracks the herbs and the ores you can gather, and it shows you all the enemies on your map and your mini map. And he also seems to increase the range of where you will see goblins. This is hard to test, but that seems to be the case. So I would definitely recommend picking up Subo. And another big thing you're going to be doing when you're actually there farming goblins is you're going to want to be on your mount I don't know if this is specific to the mount or just on foot. A lot of people seem to think it is kind of specific to the mount, but what you're mainly going to be doing is you're going to travel for a few seconds, say on your mount, then you're going to check your main map, not your mini map, because when you open up the larger map and you're zoomed in enough to see all of the tracked things that Supo has, so see the ores and flowers and see all the different enemies on your map, once you're zoomed in enough to see that, you will be able to see goblins much further away than they will appear on your mini map. You can actually see them quite a long distance away on your bigger map. So you're basically just going to hop on your mount, you're going to do a sprint, you're going to go for, I don't know, 2 to 3 seconds, then you're going to check your map, and you're just going to keep doing that. Just go a couple seconds, check your map, go a couple seconds, check your map, and you're just going to be running around these PvP zones looking for any goblins. And once you've gone around the PvP zone you're in, say once or twice, and you think you've gotten pretty much everywhere, then you're just going to travel down to the other PvP zone and do that in that zone as well. Now, the reason you're doing this is it's seems that the goblin spawns don't keep up with you, say, clearing a zone of them. So it's not like you're going to go kill a few goblins, go to the other side of the zone, kill a few, and when you go back, there's going to be more spawn. It doesn't seem that they spawn that quickly, so you can just alternate between the two PvP zones. And there is also the possibility that when you travel back to the other PvP zone, that it puts you in a new instance that could potentially be completely filled with new goblins. And if you're able to kill these really quickly, you have an endgame build in tier 4 or something like that, or you're very strong for the difficulty you're in, you should be able to max out the reputation with this in an hour, maybe a little bit longer depending on how fast you are. So after you do that, you're going to go to Kovashad and there's going to be a goblin shrine there, and you're going to go click on that. That is the reputation for this event. Once you complete this, you will get a box with a resplendent spark in it, but all of the ranks up to that point will just give you a ridiculous amount of boxes that just gives you tons of additional loot. You'll get tons of items, tons of obols, ridiculous amounts of gold, and you will actually get a handful of these boxes that gives you tons of runes, which includes a ridiculous amount of legendary runes. That's probably one of the most valuable things you'll actually get out of this event, is on the reputation track, getting just ridiculous amounts of runes. But you'll be getting basically every other loot you could possibly think of, and you'll get that additional resplendent spark. And then obviously you're going to be getting absurd amounts of loot from the goblins themselves, depending on what goblins you're actually coming across. And for me personally, even though I'm basically done with the season, all I'm doing now is trying out different builds. This farm is actually incredibly fun still, because you're essentially just kind of gambling, rolling the dice to see what goblins you come across. Because again, I've never seen the mythic goblin, the purple one that gives you a guaranteed mythic and resplendent spark. I've come across all of the other ones a good amount of times, but you're kind of just rolling the dice to see what goblin you're going to come across next, and it ends up being pretty fun, and you're just farming ridiculous amounts of loot. So this farm has actually been pretty enjoyable, even though I don't really need a lot of the things that I'm actually getting from them. So I would definitely recommend farming a lot if you have any want to continue to play Season 9 for any additional part of the season. But that's all I want to go over.